Well, good morning, everyone. Today's Thursday, May 14th. Can you believe that a week from tomorrow will be May 22nd, which is our last day, really, of school for the year. All schoolwork needs to be completed by then. So basically, we have a week and a day of school left, which is, what, five school days left in the year. That's kind of crazy, huh? Today's kind of dreary, drizzly, cool, but it looks like warm weather. It looks like we might be even getting up into the upper 70s, or maybe even 80 degrees one day next week. So, that being said, I'm going to read two chapters today. The first one's called Fading Away, and then the next one is called Things That Aren't There. All right, Fading Away. Hopefully Winston won't be interrupting us with his barking, right? Okay. Hideki heard Private Miyata yell out behind him, but he didn't slow down to look back. Once he was outside the cave, he zigged and zagged this way and that for the cover of the low hill in the distance. It was cloudy and rainy, but it was daylight out now, and the water and the light in his eyes blinded him. His heart pounded like a hammer, and he slipped and slid, juggling the grenade, the pack, and the rifle. The cigarette had already been drowned in the rain, and he let it fall into the mud. Hideki ran and ran, but unlike the Kijumuna that chased Hideki in his dreams, Private Miyata didn't follow him. At the edge of the steep ridge, Hideki flung the private's rifle down into the ravine, where it sank into the mud with a splurch. He never once considered keeping it. Just carrying a rifle was dangerous. People with rifles shot at other people with rifles, and he didn't know how to use the thing anyways. Yoshio and the old woman and the other Okinawans in the cave might still not be safe, but at least now they couldn't be shot by Private Miyata. Hideki kept running. When his lungs gave out, he collapsed underneath the remains of an exploded American tank. He panted heavily, his body still weak from days with little to no food and too little sleep, his head still ringing. He stuffed the unused grenade back in his pocket. How many other brushes with death would it help him escape from? Hideki wanted to go on to look for Kimiko, but he felt himself fading. He was crashing from the adrenaline rush of his standoff with Private Miyata, from running away. His escape had used up the last of his energy, and his sick, feverish body was giving up. If he didn't eat some food today, real food, he was going to die. It was time to try the food in Ray's backpack. Hideki tried one of the hard, unwrapped crackers first. It was tough to bite off, and it tasted like wood shavings, but Hideki was able to gulp it down. He wanted to wait to see if the cracker was poisoned and would it make him sick, but his hunger got the better of him. He bit off more and more, swallowing the dry bits of cracker as fast as he could choke them down. The second, third, and fourth crackers quickly followed the first. If they were poison, he was at least going to die with a full belly. The can with the key might have food in it too. Better food than the crackers. But what if it was some kind of an explosive device? But what if it were some kind of an explosive device instead that would blow up in Hideki's face? Surely he had eaten enough crackers to buy him another couple days, but his body still shook with hunger at the anticipation of what might be inside the can. He would try it. He just had to. Eyes closed, head turned, Hideki snapped the key into the can's lid and cranked it back. The smell that rose from the can made his mouth water. It wasn't an explosive device. It was potatoes and beef. Real meat. In a daze, Hideki used the fork from the meal kit to spear a piece of beef. His hand shook as he lifted the morsel to his mouth, afraid he would drop it, afraid it might somehow go away or be taken from him at the last moment. He placed a mouthful on his tongue and closed his eyes. It tasted overwhelmingly of salt, but underneath it was the fatty, rich flavor of beef. something Hideki hadn't tasted since long before the battle began. Hideki chewed the meat slowly and fought his stomach's powerful urge to swallow it down quickly. Hideki's eyes watered at the sheer joy of it, and he cried softly. The food was so good, and it had taken him so long to eat it. He might even have lost the pack before he'd tried it, and the food hadn't been poisoned after all. It took all the willpower he had, but Hideki saved the rest for later. He would need it. His stomach still yawned, begging for more food, but he had bought himself some more time. He felt solid again, less like a ghost. He repacked Ray's bag, took off the clammy, wet jacket, and put them under his head for a pillow. His head still pounded, and he needed to close his eyes to rest. In seconds, Hideki was asleep. He twisted and he turned, his body still blazing with fever and shaking with hunger. And as he slept, he dreamed. He was being chased by a Kijumana again, and the Kijumana hurled pine cones at him that exploded like grenades, creating the ground to Hideki's left and right. Hideki ran and ran through the rice paddies and around trees and up hills and over streams. But every time he turned to look over his shoulder, the Kijumana was right there behind him, cackling and hurling more pine cone grenades at him. Boom, boom, boom! The evil spirit was chasing him toward the pine tree again, and towards Ray. But this time, the Kijumana caught him first. It leaped onto his back and sank its long, sharp fangs into his neck, and Hideki jerked awake. He blinked in confusion. Hideki wasn't where he had gone to sleep. The blown-up tank, the muddy field, the pouring rain, they were all gone. Where do you suppose he is? He lay instead on a cot under a green army tent. A green American army tent. Hideki had been captured by the enemy. All right, next chapter is called Things Aren't What They Are. Excuse me, that's not the title. It's called Things That Aren't There. Things That Aren't There. Hideki was a prisoner of the Americans. He turned to roll off his cot to run away, but a man stood over him, silhouetted by the dawn. Hideki lifted a hand to shade his eyes. It was Ray. Ray, the boy he'd killed, was standing over him, a gaping hole in his side. Hideki's heart caught in his throat, and he sat up with a yelp. Suddenly, the ghost of Ray was gone, and an American doctor stepped into the space where Ray had once stood. Or had he? Hideki blinked and put a hand to his sore head, but instead of touching dried blood, he found a gauze bandage there, wrapped tight. "You're all right," the American doctor said. It took Hideki a confused moment to realize that the medic was speaking Japanese. The doctor handed Hideki 2 small white pills and a metal cup of water. "Here, swallow these. They will make you feel better," the doctor told him. Hideki put a hand to the place on his neck where the Kijumana had bitten him. A small cloth bandage covered the spot. "I had to give you a shot to help you sleep," the doctor explained. "You got a nasty gash on your head, and we had to sew it up for you. It's still going to hurt for a while, though, and these pills will help." Hideki was afraid of the pills, but why would the Americans go through all the trouble of fixing him up if they were just going to poison him now? He put the 2 pills in his mouth. They tasted like chalk, and he quickly swallowed them down with the water. "Good boy," the doctor said. "It looks like shrapnel from a grenade caught you. What happened?" Hideki felt the blood drain from his face. He couldn't tell the doctor what really happened, that he'd been injured by his own grenade, killing an American soldier. So, he lied. I don't remember," Hideki lied. "That may be the result of the concussion," he told Hideki. "You may have problems with your memory, or problems with your eyes and ears, like hearing and seeing things that aren't there." Hearing and seeing things that aren't there? Was that what was happening to Hideki? Was he hearing and seeing Ray because he had taken a knock to the head, or because Ray's ghost was haunting him? Get some rest, the doctor told him, and maybe your memory will come back to you. In the meantime, I'll see if I can find you some shoes that fit you. When the doctor was gone, Hideki snatched a bottle of the little white pills from the tray and stuffed the bottle in his pocket. Then he got up from the cot and slipped out of the medical tent. All around the camp, American doctors and soldiers walked on boards laid down in the mud, and trucks unloaded more Okinawans, both injured and uninjured. None of them seemed to be prisoners. First, the food in Ray's pack hadn't been poisoned, and now the Americans had treated his wounds. He'd seen them be monsters, but he'd seen them be kind too. Maybe it wouldn't be so bad to surrender to them after all. But if the Americans ever found out what he'd done to Ray, they might not be so nice. And besides, he still had to find his sister. We'll stop it there for today. All right, hope everyone's having a great day. Hopefully the sun starts to shine pretty soon. Hopefully it warms up. Take care. Bye.